Welcome to the quietest ones in the room with your host, Trey. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I am excited to be back with you. You are some of no, the most intelligent people on the face of the planet. You feel me? Anyway, thank you again for supporting. Please like, subscribe. So I'll jump right into it. I am certain you've heard it because I've heard it. And let's just get into it. USAID. And it's something that I actually like to call JFK USAID. And this is because USAID, unbeknownst to much of what the media hasn't quite said yet, and to the general public, USAID was created during the John F. Kennedy administration in 1961 for the purposes of world aid. Can you imagine that? The great John F. Kennedy. Now, a program that was created in 1961 is all over the news because Elon Musk found a way to take his brain power, his pinky in the brain type genius, and go into this underground, this dungeon of dark information that no one could possibly have known was taking place, except former presidents like George W. Bush, Reagan, and Nixon. You see, Donald Trump and his administration, along with Elon Musk, aren't the first administrations that have targeted USAID. There have been presidents prior to who have attempted to decrease the financing that was used to finance world affairs. And unbeknownst to so many people, there were groups of people beyond these presidents and their administrations who had been talking about USAID for a long time. But now it's in the forefront. And rightfully so. I mean, when you hear some of these ridiculous things that were being funded, it's pretty ridiculous. And one thing I would be careful of, and I'm trying to do this especially myself, which is when you hear the numbers, when I hear the numbers of how much was spent on this or that, I think it could be a little misleading in terms of the complete funding coming from USAID. Like, I think some of it is in part. I haven't dug too deeply into the numbers. Maybe at some point I will. Maybe you have. So you could share some of that in the comments, like how in depth it was that USA was completely financing initiatives. I'm certain some, but maybe not all of the alleged world affairs that people are on the ethos talking about. But USAID had been in the news before. There are certainly documented issues and controversies that surrounded USAID, whether it was the Cuba initiative revolving around social media and how that was manipulated to redirect and manipulate the people of Cuba, whether it was Venezuela, India and the sterilization program, Ethiopia, Haiti. I know you guys remember that crazy earthquake Haiti had. You know, Haiti often has earthquakes, but in particular, when they had these earthquakes, USA would be a part of the funding. And somehow, oh my goodness, would you believe that the money would just disappear out of thin air? Yeah, it would just disappear out of thin air. And no one could take account for it. So USAID has been a topic of discussion, but now it's certainly a hot button discussion because unlike any time in history, Elon being the owner of one of the largest social media platforms is posting receipts. Receipts. He's showing receipts. And that goes to show how impactful it is when you are as wealthy as he is and you own a major media player. No time in history can I recall a billionaire, the richest man on the planet, behaving as he is while owning one of the media major players. Because I think the typical ancient way of doing it was, let me hire people to disseminate this information to the populace, right? But Elon, you have a direct channel with him and he's just dropping receipts. But it's been known, as I mentioned, George W. Bush, if he had owned X when he was trying to dismantle, and hinder a lot of the USAID efforts, maybe you would have been up in arms at that time. But here we are in 2025. It's an opportunity for some people to discredit whoever they desire on either side. But I would agree, from much of what I've seen, based on what USAID was using the funding for from us as taxpayers, is just completely ridiculous. And I don't have to go into the particulars of all these things that I've heard, because I'm certain you've heard things that I probably haven't heard and more to come out. But one thing that I walk away thinking about regarding this matter is how, as citizens, regular folk, common folk, how it is that this is, to me, really a messaging, a conversation around globalists and nationalists. See, it's like playtime is over. There's no more America with the Trump administration trying to dibble and dabble into every international conflict. And it didn't just start with the Trump administration. This has been in the works for a while, where there's a retrieving of and a bringing back of much of the activities we've been doing around the world in terms of war, meddling in politics all over the world. Like, America has been counting the cost. The elites in America have been counting the cost, and it's got really expensive. So playtime is over. The street lights have come on, and your parents are telling you to come in the house. So now it's time to once again look into things like USAID, look into where we're spending our military funding and what countries in particular, and if we need to pull our troops out of there, if we need to take that territory, if we need to coerce the people into doing exactly what we need them to do, only for the benefit of American interests, because I'm a nationalist, then that's what we're going to do. And the globalists, because of this, are weeping and crying and complaining and waging internal war. You see the politicians going back and forth, right? But for the everyday Americans like you and I, we have to ask ourselves, whose side are we on? As a citizen of America who's never traveled outside of this country, most haven't, are you a globalist? Are you a nationalist? Why are you a globalist? Why are you a nationalist? Is there no gray area? Like, you've got people who are like, no, everything needs to be homegrown. Everything's got to be done here, no matter what. And you've got people on the other side, no matter what, we need to help people. We need to stay in everybody's business and wage wars and correct other people's issues and do democracy everywhere. You have heard those arguments ad nauseum. and it's exhausting. And we're in a situation where, for the everyday person, because we're all in the same boat, and there's the Trump administration, which ran on a populist nationalistic agenda. Oh, playtime is over. So all that financing, dances in Afghanistan, and colorful activities in South America, and paying for condoms and sterilization programs elsewhere in the world, that is done for now. For now, we have serious issues going on in America that need to take serious precedent over other issues. And we can argue about those all day, but we've had serious natural disasters in places like Asheville, North Carolina, Los Angeles, California. We're still dealing with issues of poor water quality. Flint, Michigan, did you forget about that? Yeah, Flint, Michigan. And the research that has shown we have pipes all across America providing poor, lead-filled water all across the country. Education has to be dialed up exponentially to make sure we stay ahead of the game. There's so many things going on, but you and I, as regular, everyday people, have to decide what's more important. Starbucks, homegrown Starbucks, or Luckin Coffee. I'm sorry, maybe you're not familiar with Luckin Coffee. Luckin Coffee is the Starbucks of China, which at one point, was being traded as a star. But anyway, so you have to decide whether you're for Amazon or you're for Alibaba. And maybe I say that in jest. My point is, what does it benefit you in terms of picking a side? Is there a gray area? What really matters to you? And those are tough questions when the media on either side is tossing the ball back and forth. It's like hot potato. You got it, I got it. You got it, I got it. You got it, I got it. But right now, it's definitely looking like the portrayal in the media is, oh, everything's coming back home. There are no more games. Again, playtime is over. And I thought about this movie. I'm not certain if you've seen it. Obama was a part of making this movie, the movie called Leaving the World Behind. Have you seen it? I actually enjoyed that movie. I'm like that type of person that likes that type of stuff. In the world scenarios, what do you do? Who's on whose side, etc. In that movie, I interpreted it one way when I watched it. I think it came out like 2 or 3 years ago, right after COVID. Yeah, I think right after COVID. And my interpretation of it at that time, I now have a different interpretation of it given what's transpiring now, which is, I think Obama in his part in that movie was trying to express that because the world is so intertwined, there is no leaving the world behind. The idea that you could leave the world behind, and when things start to fall apart, that you can hide, is a falsehood. And I found it interesting thinking about it, especially during the Biden, the Trump, sorry, I'm all over the place. During Obama's administration, Obama was clearly employing a globalist agenda. I mean, we were here, we were there, we were up, we were down, we were all over the place, given what had transpired during 9/11 and after. So Obama got really active in terms of making sure we were in all parts of the world stage and influencing humanity all across the planet for the purpose of our national security, his administration would say. And so I think about how I think when what he was trying to bring along with the other creators out in that movie is the nationalist mindset of bringing it home. Let me like in the movie, Sandra, Julia Roberts. Yeah, Julia Roberts was in the city and she's like, I just want to get out of her family. And they packed up and they went into a beautiful place in the middle of nowhere. I forget the name of the area, the Hamptons or something like that. I think it was. I can't remember. And when they got there, this beautiful place, they were outside the city, just away from everyone. They had pulled away, right, to get that peace. And in a lot of ways, I think that was supposed to be like this depiction of the nationalist mindset. Like, oh, let me just pull away, go into the rural areas of America and just pull away and manufacture homes. Let me pull away and take care of my own, pull away and be with my family and all this other stuff. And that put that family in the movie. And I think some would say who are globalists, who are in opposition to nationalists, they would say that that's what the nationalist does. They pull away and try to ignore the turmoil. But because of the lack of involvement, what that ends up causing is so much devastation that it comes to the nationalist doorstep. And so almost like in the movie, they're trying to argue there is no getting away from the chaos of the world. And so it depends. Like it just what are we talking about, right? There's so many ways to have strength. There's so many ways strength in terms of, being a country that no one wants to mess with because of your power. There's so many ways to interact with your neighbors. There's so many ways to intervene and not have to necessarily posture and provide financing to terrorist organizations to fight your enemies and all these different things that we know are dumb as fuck. But they tell us, at different times, they hide it from the general public and then tell you it was good to do. But those things cause so many issues. And so, yeah, I think that movie was to highlight that left brain, right brain, globalist versus nationalist dynamic. And interesting thing about that movie is and like I said, I'm not sure if you watched it, spoiler alert, but there's a scene where the family is driving, they want to go and see what's going on. They want to leave the house. And then there's a scene where like the self-automated Teslas, they're just running into each other. And the family almost gets killed, but Julia Roberts runs to the car, gets out the way, and then the Teslas just keep crashing into each other. And it just made me think about how, like metaphorical or like how that speaks to like, Tesla being an American company and how Elon has stepped in with the Trump administration to rectify a lot of these globalist agendas and help the Trump administration with focusing on internal work as far as the nation and getting things done. But the Teslas in the movie running into each other was like them saying in that movie, hey, technology and the Silicon Valley, while the technology is great, it doesn't insulate you from the globe. And when things go awry, when things go haywire, when hell shows up, when Armageddon is here, because everything is so intertwined, your technology, your way of life, everything is compromised. So that technology can't save you. And I found that to be an interesting point as I now think about that movie. But just to go back. Yeah, the JFK USAID agenda that started in 1961 isn't new. People have been trying to battle and defund a lot of it, etc. And here we are in 2025, world's richest man with a platform to deliver receipts to the general public, and people having a field day. This is media gold. You feel me? This is media gold, what's going on. You can't make this up. We are living in, man, this is a wild time to be alive and watch it all unfold where, man, just the richest people in the world, they just kind of like hid behind the veil. You know, you didn't see them. They didn't, you know, they might have done interviews every now and then, but Elon Musk is in your face every day, 24/7, and so is Trump. But you have to decide which side of the fence you're on. Until next time, please share your thoughts, comment, like, subscribe.